Today, we're going to talk about the Google Ads campaign structure that I recommend for 2026, specifically for e-commerce brands. Now, the biggest mistake I see with e-commerce brands on Google Ads is really simple. They just make things far too complicated. And most of the time, they didn't even mean to. They started off with a handful of really simple campaigns, and then they added a new campaign for a promo, and then maybe one for a new product line, and then tested their old agency setup. And over time, the account just turns into a mess. It's a bit like a wardrobe. You start off with a few pieces that you wear all the time, and then a couple of, oh, these look great on you birthday gifts that you know you'll never wear, but you smiled and said thank you anyway. And then maybe a few sale items, you weren't sure about it, but it was 40% off. So in the wardrobe it went. And then 2 years later, your wardrobe just looked cluttered, deorganized, and you can't find any of the good stuff. A lot of Google Ads accounts end up exactly like this. Unstructured and messy, more complicated than they need to be, really inefficient and full of wasted advertising spend. And the second mistake that I see is brands just running outdated structures, right? Stuff that used to work maybe 5 years ago. Dozens of tiny over-segmented campaigns, manual bidding everywhere. Meanwhile, the platform has moved on. Today we're working with smart bidding, and so fewer campaigns, a clearer structure, and more data per campaign is what's going to work in 2026. So if you open up your Google Ads right now and you can't clearly see what's working and performance is just jumping up and down for no obvious reason, then this video is for you. The most important thing that you need to understand is that Google's algorithm learns at the campaign level. So when your campaigns are consolidated, they're getting enough volume to both learn and stabilize. But if you split your budget across 10 to 15 tiny campaigns, then none of them properly learn, and that's when performance is going to get erratic, and you're going to see that ROAS spike with maybe 5 conversions one day and then 0 for the next 4, and nothing scales predictably. As a rule of thumb, each campaign is going to need around 30 to 50 conversions every month for Google to really understand what a good customer looks like and go off and find more of them. It's learning things like who your best customers are, so their age, their gender, their location, and their interests, and what people are searching for when they're ready to buy your products, essentially. And so using thousands of data points is going to optimize your bidding, your placements, your ads, your targeting to get you better results over time. Now, if you run fewer big campaigns, it will hit that conversion volume a lot faster, and so your campaigns will learn and improve even quicker, and that's when performance will begin to stabilize. But if you split your budget across 10 to 15 tiny campaigns and you've not got a huge budget, then the campaigns aren't going to have enough conversions to optimize, and Google isn't going to recognize who your best customers are, how they behave, and that's when your sales and ROAS flies all over the place. Things feel very volatile and very sporadic. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through a simple consolidated structure that you can basically copy and paste so that Google learns faster, results are less volatile, and scaling becomes much easier to control. And we're going to do that with literally 4 campaigns. Now, just before we dive in, if you're already spending on Google Ads and you want to know exactly what to fix to improve your sales and get a better ROAS, we offer you a completely free Google Ads audit for anyone that's spending above 4K a month. We'll show you exactly what's holding back performance and some simple fixes to improve profitability, and show you how to scale spend without killing your ROAS. So if you're interested, that's the first link in the description. And if you want practical weekly insights and tips as to how we optimize campaigns with real life breakdowns and case studies, then we have a free newsletter that we share every single week. A lot of it's too detailed for YouTube, so if you want that, that will be the second link in the description. And now we're going to jump straight back into this video. So for the structure, we're going to keep things very boring, but also very effective. So this structure is going to give you simplicity, it's going to give you clarity, and it's going to give you scalable performance. The first campaign that we're going to build is your branded campaign. So that's a search campaign to protect your brand. We're then going to have one performance max campaign for your bestsellers, one performance max campaign for your mid-performing products, and one performance max campaign for everything else and for the products that you're testing. So it's 4 campaigns in total, each with their own clear job, each with their own clear budget, telling Google exactly what to do. So now let's actually build them. So step 1 is to segment your products by performance. So instead of just advertising everything equally, which is what most brands do, you do not have to do that. Before you build anything, you need to know which products are actually driving performance for you and which ones should get the most amount of spend and go in our bestsellers campaign. So what I want you to do is I want you to go in Google Ads and pull a 90-day product report. You're looking at things like the ROAS, the total conversions, the conversion value, and the spend of each individual product. And so now what I want you to do is I want you to tag each of your products with either bestsellers, so that's proven ideas, so you've got strong sales and a strong ROAS for those products. Either mid performers, so these are decent, they do okay, but they're not amazing. And then everything else. So this is unproven ideas or poor performance products. And this essentially, this tagging is going to make up the entire foundation of your account. So most accounts have a small group of bestsellers that are carrying most of the revenue, a chunk of mid performers that do okay, and a long list of products that do terribly or they just haven't proven themselves yet. So we're going to build a campaign around each one of these buckets plus one for your brand. So let's start with that branded campaign. So for this campaign, I want you to use search, and we're going to keep it super simple. So if you go to Google Ads right now and you open up a new search campaign, I want you to name this search brand. So you're going to add any keywords for your brand name. So for me, it'd be Touchpoint PPC, any variations of that and common misspellings. And I want you to use exact match here. So you're not going to use phrase and you're not going to use broad. So what's the purpose of this campaign? Well, anyone searching for your brand is warm, and usually those clicks are super cheap and they're going to convert really, really well. So you don't want your competitors stealing any search traffic from your brand and, you know, mopping up those clicks and getting conversions off your branded terms. So for bidding, what I want you to do is I want you to start with max clicks, and I want you to just start with a sensible max CPC. Now for copy, if you just use headlines like your brand name and what you sell and why people love you, maybe some trust signals if you've got, you know, 100 5-star reviews and free delivery, and that is pretty much it for search. We're not going to build out a huge non-branded search campaign for this specific structure, and especially in 2026, I want most of your non-branded stuff to come through Performance Max, and we can later set up a big branded campaign, a non-branded campaign if we've got the budget. So next up is going to be your core revenue driving campaign, which is your best selling campaign. So for this one, I want you to create a Performance Max campaign. So again, open up Google, create a PMax campaign and call it PMax Bestsellers. So the products that you selected in step one, your bestsellers, this is where they're going to go, right? They've got proven performance, they're profitable for you, hopefully, and you're happy to pretty much spend on them as hard as possible. And for bidding, I want you to start on either max conversion value or just max conversions. So once this campaign gets between, you know, 30 to 50 conversions every single month, we can look at potentially adding a target ROAS. So if we're testing a target ROAS, we want it to be realistic, right? It needs to be somewhere close to your current performance. You can't set a 7x if you're only achieving a 5x. So keep it close to what you're currently getting right now. Now for asset groups, what I want you to do is I want you to split them into themes, and don't do too many of these, right? So start off with maybe 3 or 4. You could have dog beds, dog bowls, dog leads, but just keep it pretty tight. Like aim for like 3 to 5 as a maximum. And I want you to use your best creative here. So think like high quality product shots, lifestyle images, like promo and demo videos that you can put on YouTube and connect to the PMax, and then headlines that deliver clear value and benefit. So USPs, it might be pain point driven. And really this campaign should make up the majority and the lion's share of your budget. So we're looking at potentially 50% of the budget for this PMax bestseller campaign. So now we move on to campaign number 3, which is your Performance Max mid performers. Now we're going to give these products their own campaign essentially. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into Google Ads and create another campaign, call it PMax mid performers, and include all of those mid performing products that you basketed out in the first step. You know, products that get some sales and okay ROAS, but they're just not quite at bestseller yet. And for bidding, start on max conversion value or max conversions. Let the campaign build up its own conversion history. And for budget, give it far less than your bestsellers. So maybe, you know, 30 to 40% of your total amount of spend, depending how big the bucket is. And for asset groups, again, split by category. So you might have your dog beds mid, you might have your dog leads mid, and you might have your dog bowls mid. The goal for this campaign really is for it to prop up the performance and stable the account, and then occasionally just spin off a couple of winners that can be promoted into your bestseller category. So when a mid performing product starts to do well, what you want to do is promote it up to that top performing category into the best sellers, and then just remove it from the mid performing campaign so it doesn't fight with the spend. And finally, we finish off with your everything else campaign. So create a third and final Performance Max campaign and call it PMax everything or PMax testing. And this is literally everything that goes in here, everything that's left essentially. So new products and products that don't do particularly well, like everything that you're unsure about essentially. And this is going to be your sandbox campaign. So for bidding, again, use either max conversions or max conversion value. Keep it super simple. The budget should be very small, usually around sort of 10% of your total spend. Again, the goal here is to let this campaign build up. You're looking again for those products that do particularly well that you can then promote up to your mid performers or your top performers. And basically you want this account to just become like a ladder. So products are moving from the top to the bottom and from the bottom to the top. And that's just going to keep your structure really clean. It's going to keep your learnings continuous, and it's going to keep the account scaling focused. So that way your best seller campaign is obviously just full of the top performing products at any one time. Your mid performing campaign is just a solid foundation, and your everything else campaign is just getting enough budget to do okay, but not essentially set fire to your advertising spend and kill your top line account level ROAS essentially. So to keep this really simple, in terms of the budget split that I would go for, I would start off with your search branded campaign with around 10% of your budget. Your bestseller campaign has around 50% of your budget. Your mid performing campaign has around 20 to 30% of your budget. And then the rest just goes to that testing campaign. And then you can essentially just adjust the numbers as you see fit, right? But just remember, bigger, cleaner campaign structures with more data will give you faster learnings and smoother scaling essentially. So this structure is what I would propose to build clarity, control, and scale if I was running a Google ad account, felt a little bit chaotic and inconsistent and the data was all over the place and really difficult to interpret. So this is how you basically regain control with fewer campaigns. Each campaign has its own very simple, clear role, and the data is flowing from one campaign to another and performance dependent, right? So this is what you need in 2026 for Google Ads to do really well. It's going to give you a repeatable growth system that you can essentially implement inside your account. And so if you found this video helpful and you want more tips on Google Ads with breakdowns, then hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. And if you're at a point where you would rather have an expert run your Google Ads for you and show you how to get better performance out of them, then go ahead and hit that first link in the description to book an audit. And if you want to see what this structure can actually do in a real world scenario, then I'll link a video just above somewhere in here that will show you essentially a case study that we did for a jewelry brand where we doubled their sales. So this video will give you the structure, and that one will show you essentially what is possible when you do Google Ads correctly. So go and watch that video. My name's William Cameron, and this is Google Ads done properly, and I will see you in the next video.